What have you grown to accept as you've gotten older? That you should be very careful with your words and only say what you mean, to those you mean to say it to. Less is more in tough conversations. I am very elaborate talkative. People have misconstrued what I have said and has complicated things as a result. I've had to accept that I can't simply say what I like when I like. There is a time, place and manner. This is a good one. Saying more than you need to in a professional setting almost always has a negative impact. It seems like with people's attention spans rapidly dwindling these days, it's starting to become more applicable outside the professional realm as well. That sometimes life just shoots on people that don't deserve it and seems to reward those who take advantage of other people. Karma is asleep at the wheel, and justice isn't just blind, but deaf and dumb too. Buddhism has helped me accept that fact, ironically. I'm the bad guy in somebody else's story, just as much that everybody is the protagonist in their own story. Helps me be more understanding of others, and just be more okay with life in general. I feel like achieving that level of knowing you're not the main character in the story is really nice. I personally view myself as a sort of side characters. I'm not there all the time, but when I am I try to keep whoever happy, even if I can be a bit annoying from time to time. I'm getting older. I wrestled with that for a while, and into the whole eventually dying thing. It's just happening and going to happen, and that's okay. I hope to be a cyborg and live forever XD. The government actively does shady things and its first priority isn't actually what's best for its citizens but for its campaign donors, lobbyists. The issue is many people take this to mean we should hand the reins of everything to corporations with zero accountability. It is better to minimize contact with anyone you can't safely be your genuine self with. It's not worth emotionally draining yourself trying to be accepted by those who only like you if you're who they want you to be. Reduce my time at work then. Got it? There is a core belief that if you ever feel hurt or sad or uncomfortable, all you need to do is talk to the other person about it using lots of I statements, and then they will open like a flower to want to help and soothe you to fix the situation to your specifications. I have learned that whether this is with a friend, partner, boss, or co-worker, this rarely goes to plan. Just having a conversation with someone is rarely the magic bullet people think it is, and also doesn't take into account that the other person has their own beefs, agendas, and perspectives on the situation. Yup. That I'm not really any more special than anyone else on this rock, and we're all a tiny blip in an infinite universe, so don't take things too seriously. That I'm not special in any way, I'm just an insignificant speck in this massive universe. Nothing that I do will mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Making a true friend that really has at least several of the aspects needed for them to literally be considered a great friend is extremely rare or difficult. And then 20 years later this lifelong friend might dump you over politics. Most people don't care about you or about your success. Some will even go out of their way to screw you for personal gain. That life is gonna treat you crappy because you were born with crappy stats. Not everyone has the same capabilities and privileges. While nearly every person has some aspect of brilliance, people in large numbers are more often than not dangerously stupid. I too watched Men in Black. That I will always be anxious. Certain tasks will always give me anxiety. I had to accept that the task has to be done regardless, and that it's unavoidable. I always thought I could make it go away. It's a matter of management, not treatment. I sleep somewhat better at night with that mindset. I refuse to live in fear, and I accept that I must continue on, no matter how afraid I may be. That just because you try hard doesn't mean you'll be successful, and just because you're successful doesn't mean you tried hard to earn it. That I have reached the point where I have surpassed my parents in real world experience and knowledge. The roles have reversed. Human beings, all of us, are awful at our core. We've got 6,000 plus years of recorded history and all of the internet standing as proof. It can't be fixed. It's just what we are as a species. I think a lot of it is just that we can't really take other people as they are. We're just not designed to work that way, I think. We're just defective and inept. The fact that the people that bullied me are not inherently evil. What they did was a result of social dynamics. I may not be at fault for being bullied, but I had prerequisites for it. I would not be who I am today without having been bullied, and all I can do about it now is accepting that I have grown as a person from it. Nah, bullies are see. That being a short guy is something that will affect me for the rest of my life, so I have to just deal with the negativity I get from it. Being short is not always a bad thing. Being very tall is not good for your body. It's bad for joints, and also tall people have more issues with their heart. Short people live longer. That humans are selfish egomaniacs who can only view the world through their narrow, subjective lens, and lack the ability to understand their reality is subjective. It's really pointless to get mad about it. This was constant before I was born. It will be constant throughout my life, and it will be continue long after I'm gone. Just make the most of the time you get here, because that's all you're going to get. My aging body also to not undermine PPL. I am quite gifted and I tend to undermine people's intelligence, which is not cool. That I'm not special. I'm not smarter, stronger, more handsome, more agile, or more impressive than anyone else. At my teenage, I was just a kid who loved the feeling of being special, having others' attention. I love to feel superior than other PPL. Timing is probably the most important factor in a romantic relationship. You can be compatible and perfect for each other in every way, but if the timing doesn't align, then it's not meant to be. Even if you're on the verge of breaking down or resting forever, life goes on. The earth will continue to rotate on its own axis and revolve around the sun, and people will still continue about their day. Christmas music. Everyone gripes about it, but you can't really do anything about it either. Just space out and don't think while shopping like most people do, haha. You can use all the gyms, cosmetics, and botox you want, but you will never look as good at 40 as you did when you were 25. Might as well accept it and quit pouring loads of money into a depreciating asset. Just stay in shape for your health and learn to be happy and kind so that others can see your inner beauty. You might not have the same bunch of friends when you grow up. I'm currently figuring it all out still, but you do learn who's there for you. Someone once told me that our life is a train journey. People will get on and off the train all the time, but you're the only one who's on it permanently. If you have a backbone, basic intelligence and a moral code, you'll probably be called some kind of phobia or IST on the internet, and that's okay. You can't please everyone, certainly not out of touch insane people who don't go outside. Tell me you're a regressive without telling me you're a regressive. That it's okay to say no, even when you know it's not the expected desired answer. Don't just be a people pleaser. Think about yourself first. That although I don't see myself as old, my body tends to disagree. Same here. I just turned 30 a few months ago and don't consider myself old, but I can notice subtle changes in my body. I am a bartender and I make it a point to not try and drop anything at work, cause every dang time I bend down to pick something up it kills my lower back. Your parents aren't who you think they are. Man, it was so painful to realize that my father's promises to support me financially were literally never going to pan out. That man has been broke my whole life, never paid child support to my mom, and is still broke as heck. And yet he insists every time I see him that he's only months away from being a millionaire. Money is all he can talk about or think about. Every conversation with him quickly turns into a rundown of his latest get-rich-quick scheme. He is incapable of having a normal conversation. It's so sad to realize that my father is a deluded person. His own obsession with being a millionaire is preventing him from developing a meaningful relationship with his children. Living with crushing pain daily. I second this. Mine's probably not as bad as yours, just arthritis. I've had one knee replaced, and I'm not too many years away from replacing the other. The pain has spread to my hips, my right ankle, and the first two fingers of my right hand. Some days are fine, but if it's about to rain, I move a lot more slowly. Most of last week, my ankle was acting up, and I finally had to resort to using a cane for most of a day. It's the first time I've used one since recovering from my knee replacement. I'm only 60, but I worry about still being able to walk in 15 or 20 years. This may not be popular, but here's what I've realized. There are 3 stages of maturity. I think a lot of people falsely believe there are 2 stages. First, 1. When we're young, we're fully dependent. We're kinda helpless. In our teens, we recognize this dependence and helplessness, and often we rebel against it, but we really don't have any power to change our situation until later. Second, 2. When we're in our early adulthood and late teens, we start to transition from dependence to independence. We study things independently of our families. Our spirituality grows independently from our families. Our views of the world start to branch off and we create our own ideas about the world. We learn how to argue, to advocate for ourselves, to create our own space. This, I think, is where many people falsely believe that maturation ends. I think people have this idea of a linear progression from dependence to independence, and it feels like it's popular to crap on anyone who cares too much about what others think or to condescend towards anyone who kowtows to other people. However, as I've grown older, I realize there's a third stage. Perhaps one day as I get even older, I might even find a fourth. The third, 3, stage that I've realized exists is a rediscovery of dependence. Perhaps we can call this interdependence. At this stage, you don't depend on people because you have to. You do it because you want to. Because it enriches your life and their life. You do it because you recognize your happiness directly causes others to be happier, and in turn their happiness can directly cause you to be happier. You don't blindly care what your family thinks because you're young and naive. You care what your family thinks because you realize how their happiness, if you have a good relationship, can actually cause you a level of happiness you could never have achieved on your own. You don't kowtow to other people because you're a weak-minded child. You do it because you get gratification out of helping others, even if it means you sacrifice your pride or ego. In other words, you transcend your egotistic need for independence and mature back into the interdependent system of life which the generations past built for us. That's what I've realized. It's okay to be dependent. It's okay to sacrifice your needs if you take an opportunity to grow from that. But you can't do that until you're ready. People who try to jump into that stage of life too early end up hurting themselves because they haven't yet had an opportunity to self-actualize. So do that. In your 20s. Maybe in your 30s. Whatever. But as you feel your independence growing, don't jealously guard it. Recognize that independence is a tool, not a goal. We use independence to grow and mature, so that we can be mature enough to plug ourselves back into the complex social system of humanity that's been building for so long. Real freedom, isn't independence. Real freedom, at least at this stage of life for me personally, is embracing interdependence, without feeling like you've lost yourself. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.